Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Mastermind powered by OEM Interactive. This week we are talking about selling to dealers. I have two professionals in Brad and Cindy with us today who are going to walk us through what it actually takes to be able to effectively sell into dealers. And so we've all been through this. Hi, my name is, and you get the click and they hang up on you. You walk into the store. Hi, I'm Dave. Is the general manager in today? And their gatekeeper says, yeah, she's in a meeting for the next 5 hours. So she's not going to talk to you. Right? Anybody has sold things has hit those walls. Today, we're going to learn what it takes to turn those walls into windows so that your customers, the dealerships, can see your value and you can become a trusted partner and get rid of that vendor word. Not a word that I am fond of at all. We do much more for dealers in the industry than being just a vendor. And so, Cindy, Brad, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me too.
Absolutely. Brad is keeping it as real as possible. He just left the dealer for the live show, so we appreciate that and living what he's about to talk about.
Yeah, so I just left. I'm out in New Jersey today, so just got to leave a dealer and got to go in. It was I don't do a lot of, you were talking about going into dealerships cold. I don't do a lot of that. If I identify a dealership that I want to work with, I find someone that's connected to them, regardless. Mm-hmm. And then I call that person, whether it's a vendor or whether it's someone that we work with at Dynatron or whatever, or someone to have a past relationship. And I said, hey, can you introduce me to that person? Because they don't want you coming in there cold. They don't want you to come and buy cold and doing that. Who knows what they have going on, especially this is the last week of the month right here. If I go into dealers cold on the last week of the month, I'm going to get thrown out. But if and when I do go in there and it's a warm transfer, one of my tricks is specifically selling to the service department is I grab a case of Monster or a case of Red Bull or something like that, and I'll take it by and I'll hand it to every advisor and every technician. Because a lot of times, if you do it like that, service really never gets anything, right? And so it opens up a conversation, and service managers, for the most part, care so much about their people, right? Where sales tends to be more of a revolving door. And so if you take care of their people, they're going to give you some time every single time.
Yeah, I love that approach. And the first question I was going to ask was, how does the conversation start? And you just talked about it. A lot easier these days to make those connections, though, right? To find somebody that knows somebody in the store you want to go into than it used to be. You have a lot more avenues to make that happen. Cindy, as you're out there, are you guys doing cold calling on dealers, or are you doing the same thing? It's usually a warm introduction from someone.
I mean, of course, I like to shake it up and do all of the things, right? You're not always going to have the referrals to walk you into the stores. A lot of times I do get referrals, but it's from friends and other dealers that are outside of the area. So it's nice to be able to cold call and walk into stores that are close to my house, near my area. I'm also not from the New Jersey, Philadelphia area, although I'm a psychopath Eagles fan. I am not from here. I have to use GPS to get anywhere, especially in Jersey where they do no U-turns, loops on loops. Like I really don't get it. But it's okay. Everything is different everywhere. But cold calling to me sometimes is fun. I'm just I don't know. I like talking to people. I don't go in there with really the intention of selling something. Like, first of all, I have no idea who you are, if you're part of a group, what you're currently doing, if there's even anything I can offer you that makes sense. So when I cold call, right, go into a store, I like to first talk to absolutely everybody. If there is someone moving cars on the lot, I will talk to them. I will have a conversation. I will get to know them, and I will just continue meeting all of the people in the store. You make friends with that receptionist, and they're happy to walk you right back to any.
Mhm.
But I think it also has to be genuine, and I just like doing it. Um, Most of the time, it leads to a no, or maybe eventually for me, because we're all things F&I, and I want to say, other than CRM and DMS change in your store, it might be the hardest. Like, no one woke up wanting to change all of their F&I products and processes. So it just has to be more of a relationship, I think, and getting to know you. Is there something we could do? What are the gaps we could fill? And it is a little bit longer of a process.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense, and I love the fact that you're talking to everybody out there, and I mean sometimes that porter or that receptionist is that gatekeeper that you need to get by, right? You need
Yeah.
you need somebody to bring you to the desk of the person that you need to talk to.
Yeah.
So how do you guys start to build that relationship, right? You walk in there that first time, Cindy, and you first don't know whether there's anything you can sell them. You realize there's a long tail on what you are going to try and sell to them. And so how do you start to build that partnership? How do you start to convey that's what you're looking for is a partnership? I don't want to just sell you some products. I want to be here to help your dealership grow.
Well, again, it just kind of depends, what are they currently doing? So it's great to ask questions, not just what types of products are you using, because products are products. Everyone has the same stuff out there, no offense. But it's all about who you have servicing your account and coaching your people. So after a little bit of fact finding, sometimes it's a little bit easier for me to be able to say, okay, this is the company you're using. So typically this is the type of coaching that comes with it. What is their personal experience? Because just because someone's using the same company as 2 states next door does not mean they're getting the same level of service. So you really just need to figure out what it is that they might have a gap with. And then we have both products and coaching and all kinds of things that could fit without really even displacing anybody.
Makes sense. How about you, Brett?
Yeah, I think vendor to, or I guess you would say partner to dealership sales is very strange, right? Because we're selling to the best salespeople in the world, right? And so if you take that in consideration, there's 2 major differences when selling to dealerships. The first major difference is they know the sales process. They know everything that we're going to say when we go in there, and that can make it difficult sometimes. But the other thing that we have to consider is when a customer comes in to buy a car, or they come in for service, they make this. I'll take this back to the great Damien Boudreaux says this. They're either moving away from a problem or they're moving towards a possibility. And if you find that problem or possibility, you're going to sell a car. When you're on the vendor side, they don't have a problem or possibility, or some of them don't realize they do. And so I can't just come in and ask questions, because I have to bring self-awareness to that problem or possibility first. And sometimes that's like, hey, we had this dealership. This was their issue that they had. Now this is where they're at. This is how much revenue they made. This is the result of that. This is what they're able to do with that revenue, whether reinvest in technology or their people or their community. And so you have to take a different look at it. It's a different sales process. It's not the same sales process. So the thing that a lot of people lack on the vendor side is understanding that that's a different sales process, understanding you have to ask different questions and you have to say things differently to bring up a problem, but also have a solution at the same time. And then the other thing that you run across is the lack of creativity. So all of these people that send these, for lack of better word, shitty LinkedIn messages and all kinds of stuff like that, you're just hurting the rest of us that actually have some creativity that's going to do things outside the box. before I go into any store, I research the person. I look at LinkedIn. I research the store a little bit. I figure out if they're part of a group. I know all of these things before I go in. The first thing I did today when I went in this guy's office is he had a samurai sword, he had a hydrogen water bottle, and he had a New York Mets bobblehead, right? And I'm like, boom, I got my talking points right now, right? I'm a big Pete Alonso fan. I'm a big Gary Brecka fan who preaches the stuff. I'm a huge MMA fan, which kind of correlates to the samurai stuff. So I just steered the conversation in that way. So immense curiosity combined with creativity is how I break down those barriers that most dealerships put up.
Yeah, I think the curiosity is a big part of sales, right? Being David Meltzer always says, be more interested than interesting.
Yeah.
Right. And that's, if you can go in there and do that and have a genuine interest, right? You can't pretend to be curious about things, right? You've got to actually have a genuine interest to find out more about that person. Because as you said, Brad, this is the best salespeople on the planet that you're dealing with. They will see right through the fact that you're faking it. So there's no point in trying to fake it with them. That you're faking. So how do you continue that relationship, right? Because it's not going to be just one visit, right? So what does visit 4 or 5 look like? What's the difference between the visits, Cindy, for you, between when you're starting the conversation and when you've actually got the yes from them? So you've actually made the sale. How does that partnership change? How do your visits with them evolve?
Well, I heavily get our team involved because although I'm excellent at sales, I have the entire team with Ascent who leads all of the coaching and development. So when I bring stores on and they're doing every product with us, I have someone from our coaching roster who the minimum qualifiers, 10 plus years in sitting in F&I to be able to then go in and be one of the coaches. And they're heavily involved. And then I kind of maintain that relationship, the issue person, if you're having anything with claims, if you want to do any sales trainings on some of the basic products like chemicals, I'm fantastic with that. So yeah, that's kind of how we do it. I just get my team involved and we all do it together.
All right. I love that. So we've moved you up to center stage here for a moment because Brad, I think got thrown out of the dealership parking lot. So hopefully he'll be back shortly. So what Brad mentioned that he likes to bring in monsters, and Colby Joyner in the comments said he's brought a case of Monster in for him. What's some of your favorite swag to bring into the dealerships? What do you find that they like, that they enjoy?
I'm kind of opposed to, I feel like a lot of my competition brings in the donuts and the lunch.
Yeah.
And I am all about healthy things right now. I think I did bring one dealership a case of Red Bulls last minute because I bought a car from someone that I'm family friends with down the road, and then proceeded to come into their dealership after purchasing the car. And they're like, why didn't you buy it from us? It's used. Like, relax. Gotta buy my car somewhere. So I did do the energy drinks once, but I'm a cooking fan. So I feel like it just adds that little extra touch. I spent hours and hours cooking for a ton of my stores, and I do not just cook for one person. When I cook, it is for all of the staff, including your service people, will be able to eat what I made you. And it's kind of like my therapy cooking too. So if I've had a long day or a bad day or any type of day, I just feel like I enjoy to cook. And then I do bring it in, and people are like, oh my gosh, how do you even have the time to do this? And I'll write the handwritten notes and stuff. And I like to set my goals and write a specific amount every week to mail out. And it's just me. I just like people, and I like doing things and bringing them stuff, but something that's just a little bit more personal touch.
Yeah. I love that. I've seen your posts on LinkedIn and wish that I lived closer so I could get some of that. But
I mean, you can't be taking Eagle cookies into the Texas market, though. You know what I mean? Yeah, you can't.
Try
You can't.
me.
You can't be doing that. So if you guys don't know, I'm a diehard Cowboys fan, and so Cindy's a diehard Eagles fan. So we go back and forth. We go back and forth a lot. I think one thing that we don't think about on the salesman side of stuff when you're selling for a vendor is what happens with these salespeople in the dealership. They have their own Facebook page. They do their own marketing. They take pictures with their customers. They do all of this stuff to promote themselves. We don't do that as much on the vendor side of stuff. Why would we deviate from a plan that works for so many different dealerships? You have guys like Ollie Retta and Cody Carter and guys like that do all of their own marketing to build their own personal brand. And so that's something that I think that we forget is like, hey, it's our business. It's our business too. Just like they tell you in the dealership, that's their business. So I have my own Facebook page. Before NADA last year, I really hit a full court press, and I took the NADA list and I appended it and I uploaded it into Facebook, and I put a little spin behind it and dropped it straight on my Calendly link. And so as soon as everybody got to Vegas, they're getting ads and to come see me. So I booked 33 appointments for NADA, and it was the busiest NADA I've ever had in my life.
nice.
So I think, like I said, it goes back to creativity and strategy of how do you treat your business like a business, and then how do you combine that with creativity and empathy and being very caring and doing things like Cindy does, which taking food into dealerships. That's brilliant. You know what I mean? Because what's one of the things why it's so brilliant is if you've ever worked in a dealership, there's times where you don't get lunch till 3:00.
Yeah. Mhm.
Someone brings you food. That little bit of energy can make a difference between it being a 2-car day and a 5-car day.
Mhm.
You know?
One dealer, a sales guy, judged me a little because he's like, "You brought lasagna? Like, that's going to be so hard for everyone to take out." No, honey, I brought all individual packaged lasagnas so you can grab and go. You're welcome.
Mhm.
I get it. I love social media. It's so much easier to grow your business, let everyone know who you are, be consistent, and people will see, like, okay, she's doing it every single day for the last 3 years. This must be who she is. And like-minded people are going to want to do business with you. So social media is everything.
Yeah, and don't just portray something online. There's enough of people in the car business that will portray something online and then be different when you're in person.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of those out there, and dealerships want to see practitioners. They want you to come up with be able to brainstorm on the spot. I just offered to take a car to a different store a while ago. They had nobody to take a car, and I was like, I'll drive it. And he's like, wait, hold on. And I was like, no,
I
I'll
love
drive it
you.
right now. I'll drive it right now. And he's like, I took a turn. I'm in service now. I took a turn on a car deal the other day. But it's if you're an immense problem solver where you're like, hey, I got a person for everything. If there's a problem that you bring up that I can't solve, I take it personal. And I will figure out an answer. Or go to the ends of the earth to figure out an answer to get you, because once you solve a problem for someone, you have street cred forever with those people. Forever.
Right. Mhm.
And that's what they want in partners is a guy that they can call and say, hey, I got this issue. Do you know anybody? And you either say, yeah, I got this guy, or give me 10 minutes and I'll give you a call back and I'll figure it out, you know?
Yep.
And I think that's one thing that Cindy does really well. And I think that's one thing that you see some of the best salespeople in all of the industry do is consistently solving problems for people consistently. And without solving problems without like a contingency, right? Solving problems not just because you're going to do business with me.
Just because you see a problem and you can give them a
Exactly.
solution for it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because eventually I'm gonna get your business. It's a game to
Right.
me.
If you
It's a
want it,
game.
you're getting it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it eventually I'm gonna make you like me enough. I'm gonna solve enough issues where you're gonna feel so guilty you're gonna sign up with me. Eventually, I'm just telling you, and it's a different way of selling than everything else, and that's not how we sell cars. That's why it works so well, is because we don't sell cars that way, right? There's some dealerships that it's almost like the dealership I came out of. They do so much in the community that you see how much money they put in the community.
Yeah.
They're able to make more money on every car because they know how much is going into the community. And so it's the same thing as they see value in you as a problem solver. And then when you present financials, it's not that much of a difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if your product's higher than everybody else's. So
Yeah, but price only matters in the absence of value, right? That's the quote. That may not be the quote exactly, but it's something like that. I love that you were getting in there and helping with things. Every dealer that I went into to do training consulting with, I was on the service drive moving cars, tagging cars, putting floor mats in, and it always, people are always like, what are you doing? Like, you need some help, I'm helping. That's what we're here to do, right? We're here to help people.
because
I agree, but I walk into a lot of stores where I have them talking about their vendors, right? That they haven't seen in God knows how long. They've tried to call for
Yeah.
an issue, no call, no nothing back. And I mean, I've called, I've definitely referred you to people. I would literally put Brad in front of anyone that I have a great relationship with because I know he's not going to make me look like a fool and he's going to help them with anything that they need. You're golden. Other than the football stuff, you were like my favorite.
Well, you think I'm good? Oh, you gotta meet my wife someday. She's 10 times better than me, and she keeps me grounded really well. And she says stuff all the time, and she's able to word stuff in a different way. But I'm so excited a lot of times to be able to do stuff that surprises people, right? So I try to surprise people because it's not that hard to surprise a dealer, principal, or a GM by how you do things. It's just
Yeah.
not. It's because there's so many bad salespeople out there that do things the wrong way, that push, that are aggressive. You can't do that anymore. You can't be that person anymore. It's those people are going out of style, and what they want is radical transparency and problem solving. And that's what they want. They want radical transparency and problem solving. It's the whole reason I left the marketing side of the business. Is I got tired of answering the question, "Hey, what's the return on investment on this?" And that's why I switched over to fixed ops, is because I can prove it versus answering those questions. So, um, I think, one of the hardest things to do that you have to look at first, that's a foundational, is find a company that you 100% with your whole heart believe in what they do. If you don't believe in what they do, leave now. Don't put your dealers and your relationships through that, because at the end of the day, it's mine and Cindy's reputation on the line and our relationships, right? If
Right.
if I sign someone up at, let's say I'm working for a different company and I sign someone up and my implementation team drops the ball, I I take it personal, because that's my relationship. And I've worked really, really, really hard over the last 12 years in auto to cultivate these relationships. And it's not only the reputation of the company, but mine. And so I Cindy was making fun of me, on my business card. It says, "Call anytime. I'm open every hour that you are." So I had a dealership call me the other day, and he's a good friend of mine. I talk to him all the time. His name's Lee Brown, up at Baxter Auto, and he had a friend that needed some help. And I was in the sauna, and I answered the call, and he goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "I'm in the sauna right now." He goes, "You're serious?" And I go, "Yeah." I go, "Do you want to FaceTime?" And he's like, "No, no, I do not want to FaceTime." And so, uh, so everything that I say or everything I put out there, I try to make sure I live every single aspect of it. Because I want to always be above approach, and I never
Mhm.
want my integrity or anything to be in question. And I think Cindy's the same way with that. Like, she wants to be consistent. She wants to do that. The other thing that we don't do is we don't ask other vendors for referrals.
Oh.
We don't ask our friends for referrals. Why would we not ask our friends for referrals, you know?
Yeah.
Like, especially people that we might have helped in the past or got a job or done this or done that, right? Like,
Mhm.
why would we not utilize our network? So don't just utilize your dealership network. If you find that there's a dealership you want to go into, go on LinkedIn, figure out who's connected. You can sort it 10,000 different ways. Start calling those people and say, "Hey, how can I get in front of this person? How can I get in front of this person?"
I
And
just wrote
that's
that down, actually. I'm going to do that over the weekend. I'm going to make a list of people to ask.
yeah,
Thank you for reminding me.
There
yeah,
you go.
yeah. And you know what's even crazier is dealerships don't even ask for referrals that we tell our sales guys to. When's the last time you heard a service advisor ask for a referral?
Yeah, they don't. Nope.
Nobody's e-
But you
nobody
listen. You listen to
nobody's
guys
doing
like Ed Roberts at Bozard Ford, and he'll use the phrase, "We want to own the garage,"
it. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
They don't care what kind of car is in that garage, right? If the dad drives a Ford, but his daughter is driving a Kia, he doesn't care. Bring the Kia in, right?
yeah,
Because at some point that Kia needs to be replaced, and then they can get her to buy a car. Right. So if
yeah.
you just want to own the garage, and you're not going to get that if you never ask for a referral.
I'll tell you a way I asked for a referral, and this guy's probably listening, so I'm gonna call him out because I have a good enough relationship. So there's a guy named Kurt Poor. He works for J Hodge Automotive Group, and he's a fantastic guy. And I love the guy to death. I talked to him this morning, and I've been asking him for referrals, and I hit him with the old Tom Stuker referral. I hit him with some stuff that Damian Boudreaux taught me. I hit him with every referral thing in the book. And so he kept stymieing me and wouldn't give me referrals. And so I finally said, "Hey, Kurt, you're a great guy. You're a great guy. I thought you'd have more friends in automotive than that." And like, we get off the phone and he sends me 3 referrals. So here's the thing about 99% of GMs. Most of them are all A personality types.
Oh yeah.
So if you know about a personality type, if you throw a challenge out to somebody, they're always going to answer it, always. And so that's a trick for getting referrals, is you could use that little phrase. You have to have a good relationship with that person to pull it off. But I get to pull off a lot of stuff because people just don't really. I can say pretty much anything and nobody holds me accountable for some reason. But I could say pretty much. I'll say all kinds of stuff like that to get those referrals. But when you say something like that, it throws them off their game of you asking for the referral, and then instantly someone pops in their head, right? So
Mm-hmm.
any way that you can disrupt that psychological thing, like, oh great, now he's asking me for a referral. And when I said, oh, I thought you had more friends than that, now he's thinking about his friends that are in automotive. He's not thinking about referrals, right? So there's a lot of psychology that goes into the vendor dealership side of things. And if you dig into that side, you can be super successful because uh you're doing something new, like, that they haven't seen before. So
Mm-hmm.
Makes it more fun too, I feel like.
yeah,
Our jobs
yeah,
should be fun. I enjoy,
Absolutely.
every single day. So
Yep. And so we've been having so much fun here that we're already halfway through segment 2, and I never introduced segment 2. So first off, segment 2 is brought to us by Parts Edge, power tool for your parts department. And segment 2 was is your network your net worth, which is exactly what we've been talking about here, getting referrals. Before we continue on, the stat of the week. And this week, the stat of the week is brought to us by Automotive Warranty Network Incorporated. Well over 70% of dealerships prefer working with partners who understand the automotive industry. offer competitive pricing, and provide high quality customer service. That is from an NADA report. And so it's not just that you have good pricing. It's also that you kind of understand the industry, right? That's being able to speak the language definitely helps you when you're talking to dealers, understanding what they're going through, maybe even more than speaking the language, understanding what they're going through, right? You pointed out earlier, Brad, it's the last few days of the month, right? And when you're dealing with somebody at a company who has no idea what that means inside the dealership.
Or like the recent CDK issue, right? If you're a vendor and you were calling people when they were going through the CDK issue, bro, come on. I took a different approach when the CDK issue hit. I called all my dealerships and asked for manual forms and put together a bunch of manual forms and then put it on LinkedIn. And I put it on LinkedIn on a Friday after CDK issue hit, and I woke up to 437 emails asking for them.
Right.
Because
not many people have those things though, Brad.
Yeah.
And I shared your stuff with all my dealers.
Yeah. I spent my time calling and just saying, "Are you okay? Is there anything I can do for you? Are you okay?" And there's a lot of advisors, managers, and things that everything was digital when they get into this business.
Yeah.
Right. So they don't have handwritten arrows, or it was probably sales side stuff that you had a bunch of stuff for them too.
Oh,
but
I had both. I had both. But
they don't have that stuff.
And we're talking about people, like, I don't think I'm a real big deal in the automotive industry. I don't think some people know me and stuff like that. But I woke up with calls from the head of Asbury, a high level guy at Greenway, like big dealership groups, and have my cell phone number calling me on a Saturday. And I'm like, this is crazy. Like, I thought it was just a nice thing to do. And I didn't even come up with the idea. It was my teammate. I was just the one that executed it. You know what I mean? And so I executed it. Me and him put it together. It's been very fantastic. It was a really cool thing. And it's probably one of the things I'm most proud of, is to be able to, whenever there's a crisis, if you can jump in and help out. Yeah, I wish I had that help when I was in a Volkswagen store and the diesel issue hit. I wish I had people. I had a couple of people I could rely on when that went down. But that's what it's all about, man. Is just helping people with no expectation of a return. Right? It's going to give you a return down the road because you did the right thing and you help people out. But when I start to focus on sales objectives and numbers and stuff like that, guess what happens to my sales tank? When I start to focus on helping people and being nice, and if you're stuck in a rut, I will go to Target, park there, wait for a little lady to come out and go put her cart up just to set me back right in the same mindset. Like seriously, if you're going through a slump like that, it will set a little bit of perspective is a beautiful thing, right? And perspective allows you to get out of your own head a little bit and get more into the problem solving side of stuff, right?
Yeah. And so this question is for both of you guys. Do you see what you're doing as selling, or do you just see it as I'm helping them solve problems that they have?
I mean, I think that it's just my personality to always be helping. And I know that one day it will come full circle and everything that I want or need will come to me. So I honestly don't ever look at much like selling and like I'm going to get anything back. If I get something back from it, then that's fantastic. But you can't really go into it with that mentality.
Yeah, I really look at it. I now look at it, since I'm on the fix ops side, I'm hardcore team fix ops now. And they're knowing the dynamics in a dealership where there's a natural rivalry between sales and service, right? And service gets all the cool shit. Let's be honest, they do. They get all the cool tools. They get it. So I look at myself as an advocate
for all those fixed ops directors that aren't pulled into conversations or marketing conversations, or you know what I mean? So I look at my as I come in and I'm gonna make that fixed ops. I'm gonna give that fixed ops director a raise, and I'm gonna be able to give that dealership a raise where they can pay their technicians more, where they can invest in cool technologies like Parts Edge or UVI, or where they can sow more money in their community, right? Because fixed ops is so underserved on the technology front. And there's no sense in that side of the business being behind when it comes to tech stack, right? So that's how I look at it, is like, man, I do a lot of demos. I spend a lot of drive time. I do a lot of stuff that I'll probably never see the return on. I've been working on one guy for a year, and I finally texted him like 2 weeks ago, and I go, "Do you not love me?" Like that was my whole thing. Like, do you not love me, dude? Like, do I not provide enough value for you? Because at a certain point, you can't. Damien Boudreaux says this: you can't ask for commitment greater than the relationship you built with someone. I've done hours and hours and hours and hours of free stuff for this guy, so I have the right to ask for the business, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's what we forget, is like, once you build a certain relationship, you have the right to ask for the business. And my answer might be no,
Yeah.
or it might be no with conditions, but you have the right to ask for the business. And guess what? This week he texted me yesterday and it's like, all right, I'm ready to listen. And I was like, I guess he started thinking about it, and he had to have some time to process. But I have no I have no boundaries when it comes to car dealers, because my intentions are pure, right? I'm just trying to get a lot of people out of their own way and show possibilities that they might have not considered, so that I can help them make more money and they can invest more into their people, their process, technology, and the community. And
Agree. Agree.
that's how we change stuff, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is like, if I show them my vision for their store and the vision that I share with other stores, they're driven by one of those things, right? So that's kind of the deal.
Yeah. I mean, that's what the greatest leaders do, right? Is they create a vision that is large enough that everybody that is underneath them, that is in their care, can see their vision for life coming true because of that larger vision, right? And if you can go in there and you can help them expand that vision, out, so now they can see within their vision them helping the community more, them doing more for their team. That is the value that you're bringing. And as you pointed out, Brad, right, that you can then ask for that business, right? You've made those relationship deposits, and now you can make that withdrawal, which is asking for the business. You mentioned earlier, like, it's not that hard to wow a GM or dealer principal, right? That's the reason that I don't like best practices, because everything is so average, right? That even the best practice is typically an average kind of thing, right? So you've got to be above whatever best practices you see, because too many people are happy being average, and that becomes the best practice.
Or they just don't know what they don't know, right? Because things are constantly changing in all of life. So, how do you know that something that you started to do 10 years ago or 20 years ago is still the best thing, that you're still in the same position, that you don't have things both in F&I and in fixed ops, that there are better things out there, better processes, and people that focus on just that piece that can help you with all of that. So,
Love that. All right. And Jeff Scherer said in the comments, "I'm your car guy, car gal." That is something I say all the time. That's what you want to be, right? When somebody thinks they need something for the dealership, or if you're a service advisor, they need something for their car, you want them thinking of your name, not just, oh, I don't know, I take my car to XYZ dealership or repair shop, right? You want them thinking you personally. You want to be that person. If somebody says, I have a problem with plumbing in my house, everybody says, I got a plumber here, call this guy, right? You want the same thing from your advisors, want that for customers, and you, as partners to dealerships, want the dealership going. I know who you need to call. Will be able to find you the person that can help you. Time for our quote of the week, which is brought to us by Petra Automotive Products. And the quote says, "People don't buy products, they buy solutions to their problems." And that's anonymous. And since it's anonymous, I'll claim it. I said that just now. You just heard me say it. And so that's what we were talking about earlier, right? That you're not selling, you're trying to solve a problem for them. How do we go about conveying that solution to them? How do we show them that we are going to solve a problem for them?
I think you have to active listen, right? So I active listen on social media, and there's tools out there like mention.com and other tools out there. So if someone mentions like a warranty labor rate analysis, or someone mentions a needing help on the customer pay side, or trying to recruit technicians, right? I'm always actively listening to find those. And then I'm able to offer, like, hey, are you okay with me showing you? Are you okay with me showing you how we do it over here? And then a lot of times, if I'll then go into that mode to where if they know somebody, I'll start calling the people that they know and say, how well do you know this person? Is there any way that you can vouch for me or whatever, right? So I do it very strategically on solving the problems. If I'm walking into a dealer, a lot of times you don't know what their problems is until you ask some qualifying questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know, like we were just in a dealership, and they were having problems with advisors discounting, but it took me 7 questions to get there, right? And then I figured out that was the hot button, that they're losing warranty labor rate. They're losing warranty labor rate increase because of advisors discounting, and they didn't have a great system to eliminate that. So you had to ask some good questions to try to uncover that. But I think a lot of times you can pick up stuff off of social media by having some good active listening and find people that are looking for problems. I'm fortunate to where I've been on the sales and marketing side, so I can listen for those problems too and fix a problem that's unrelated to what I sell. And then they feel like I said, 9 times out of 10, they feel bad and they want a demo, right? And they're like, once you fix a problem with no strings attached, you'll always get this question. So what do you do? They'll say,
Yeah.
what do you do? And then you're like, okay, now they just open the door for me to show them, right? And I know I've got that hundreds, probably thousands of times asking, so what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
So that's my strategy: active listening on social media, and and asking loads and loads of questions.
A lot of ours is numbers, data, right? Because we're F&I, so it's really show me your numbers, and if it's not at a specific place, then you might have process problems, people problems. I mean, it could even be the programs and the admins that you're working with. I've gone in and switched dealers on programs, and they didn't even know they were paying crazy fees for XYZ, for, stuff that they're not even getting from their current providers. They're paying fees and extras on everything. So I think that as soon as we show dealers the numbers, as soon as they feel comfortable with us pulling those things apart to figure out exactly what is the root of the issue, that is very helpful. And it's all data for us.
Yeah, I love it. Both of you said essentially the same thing, asking questions about what their problem is, right? Because it's really hard to go in and just tell somebody, I'm going to fix your problem, because you have no idea what it is until you've asked them. All right. So we are going to move into segment 3, which is advice for everybody. Segment 3 is brought to us by Automotive Warranty Network Incorporated. Segment 3, again, advice for everybody. And so let's start with, what advice would you give somebody thinking about going into sales, to either the sales side or the fixed ops side?
Be ready. It's a heck of a ride.
That's ominous.
Be committed to the process. Take the process and do the process. Don't be jaded by all of the people that are not following what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And just focus on what you need to do and the goal. Sales is amazing, and the car business is amazing.
Yeah, this is something I struggled with for a long time, right? Because I sold cars, and then I did marketing, and then I switched to the vendor side and did sales on the vendor side. And what I've realized is, whatever you do, you need to do where your creativity lies. Whether, for me, that's in solving problems and strategies and stuff like that. So if you don't do where your creativity lies, you're going to fall in and out of love with what you do. And so if your creativity is helping people and solving problems, sales is probably for you, because that's mostly what it is, right? If your creativity is in something else, it's probably not going to be the best thing for you. So you really have to take an internal look, and then everything you do process wise has to align with like your true self, right? It can't be outside of yourself, right? And when it's not outside of yourself, everything's easy. It's just, you're just being yourself, right? Why do most car guys or girls, when they first start, why do they sell 10 or 12 cars? Because they don't know the process and they be themselves. And then they have this slump where they go down because they learn too much, and they only know the process, and they're trying to follow the process, and they're not being themselves, right? Mm-hmm. So all it is loving on people. That's all it is. It's loving on people. It's just being thoughtful. It's checking back on people. It's using your technology. There's so much technology out there. There's no sense you can't follow up on people. You can pre-schedule text messages. You can pre-schedule emails. You can pre-schedule all of that stuff. And regardless if you think it's just pre-scheduling, it's heartfelt to somebody if you pre-schedule that stuff, because you still are putting thought into it. And I customize everything. I try to customize everything that I do. I remember what energy drinks every single one of my dealers I signed up like, whether it's Celsius or Red Bull or whatever, and I get their specific whatever they like. Except for, there was one guy that liked a weird one that I had to order off of Amazon. It took like a week and a half. So but I remember those things. And I keep notes and stuff like that, and I keep notes about their kids and their t-ball games and their, all kinds of, but I do that with my vendor friends too, right? Yep. And you never know when a vendor friend's going to switch to the dealership side. It happens all the time, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're one of those people that just because the guy was at a dealer and he switched to a vendor that you could disown him, you can't do that in this business. Because guess what? A lot of those guys go back to the dealership. You know what I mean? So
happens all the time.
One thing that I would say that I do that's like a trick, and it works very, very well, is every time I share my contact card, I select my birthday on the contact card. And so what it does is it puts my birthday on everybody's calendar when I share my contact card with them. So every year in April is my biggest month because all these vendors are calling me because it's my birthday and it's on their calendar. And the other thing I started to do.
No, my birthday's next month.
I created a new business card that has a Texas QR code. So nice. I play into the fact that I wear a baseball cap, and that all my marketing is around for myself is around what my true self is, right? Yep. I'm a redneck kid from Texas. I'm no smarter than anybody else in the industry. I just look at things a little different, and I try to be super thoughtful, and I answer my phone anytime anybody calls, and anytime there's an issue, I look at that as an opportunity to build a better relationship with somebody on how I handle that issue. And so because relationships are going to get tested, they are. They're going to get. It's not always sunshine and rainbows. They're going to get tested, but how you handle that issue will determine if that relationship deepens, right? And so if you keep that in mind, that it's not always going to be perfect. You're going to go through some rocky spots. You'll start to get a reputation as a guy that's a guy or girl that's a problem solver and that really cares about people. And then you'll be successful like Cindy is, right? One of these days. I'll get there.
Yeah.
You have to switch to liking the Eagles to be as successful
No,
as Cindy.
that's not.
And I can be bribed too by anyone watching this show, because one day I might be a dealer. Anything Eagles will be perfect.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah, Brad, you talked about people switching from the vendor to the dealer side, or dealer side to partner side. And I can tell you, as somebody who has made that leap, I experienced some of that. There were a whole bunch of people that when I was in a dealership were in my inbox all the time, checking in, asking for things, always wanting to talk. And when I left the dealership world, there were a fair portion that disappeared.
Yeah.
That didn't want, and there were some, I'll do this dealer to dealer. There were some that at dealers that I could text or call anytime, pick up my call when I was in the dealer. When I moved to the partner side, they now wouldn't take my call.
Oh yeah.
It was like, okay. So I thought this was a little better of a relationship than just that we both worked at dealers. But it's interesting to see that people people view things that way.
Dude, I mean, I get vendors reaching out to me all the time to partner up and different things like that. I have no pull at Dynatron. I'm a sales guy, and they're wanting me to partner up and do things and reach out to me and I have vendors that'll reach out to me for referrals, and I don't mind giving referrals to people, and I don't mind setting them up and stuff like that. But they don't, if me and Cindy have a conversation, and I ask her for referrals, my question before we leave is, how can I help you? What do you need? Are you trying to get into a certain dealership? Let me see if I have a contact that I can help. And so if we always keep in mind to try to provide, kind of like the Gary Vee way of thinking, provide 51% of the relationship, even on the vendor side, right? Because who knows, you might end up partnering with one of those things, or you might, we have a lot of partners like WarCloud and Auto Recalls and stuff like that, right? If I was nice to them ahead of time, I might be getting stuff or leads from them when they partnered up. So you don't ever network just to dealers, because it's an industry, not just a dealer network, right?
Yeah.
And there's people that send me referrals that when someone sends me a referral and I haven't sent them one, I feel terrible. Terrible. I take it personal, and I'm like, I'm going to outgive this person. And if you take that mentality into everything you do, I'm going to try to outgive this person, then it helps everybody, right? Because there's enough companies out there that there's companies that somewhat do what we do, and there's companies that somewhat do what Cindy does. But what separates you is how much you care about people, if you answer your phone, if you're there for them, if you help them with issues that are outside of your scope of work. And that's where you really, really make a difference. And guess what? It makes a difference to their customers too, because you're helping them better serve their customers, right? And at the end of the day, without their customers, none of us would have this industry. We wouldn't even be here. And so, I'm honestly super lucky. I've had a lot of great mentors in my career that taught me how to do the car business the right way. And there's a lot of great dealers that I get to hang out with, and people like I was hanging out with Sandy Sarami today, who's an excellent human being. And
Yes, he is.
and I get to go meet people from, there's no reason a Texas guy should be able to sell to people in Jersey. There's no reason. It couldn't be more different in the world, right?
I would put you in front of any Jersey and Philly store. I mean, you're a
But
great human and you do what you say you're going to do. So I would tenfold have a Dallas Cowboys fan. Just we might have to put you in an Eagles shirt while you're in those Jersey, Philadelphia stores, and that'll be worth it.
yeah. She likes to pick on me about that, but you know what? How many Super Bowls y'all got? That's all I gotta say.
That's
Lately, none.
all right. We have a few minutes left here. Let's have a little bit of fun and show people how easy sales into dealerships actually is. So, Cindy, I'll start with you. The easiest deal that you got done.
Man, again, I mean, doing the F&I side, it is hard because when you're switching someone and all of their programs and a dealer's reinsurance, it's not easy. But I do have to
Mhm.
say, I got a lead last month from Facebook. I had my first phone call with the dealer Friday last week. And we literally signed the paperwork on Monday. Apparently, he bought a new store.
There
They
you
do
go.
not sell a lot of cars. He just took over. His goal is to own 3 more by this time next year. And
Mhm.
he said that apparently the guy that he's had a relationship with, that they had all of their products through, that he knows very well, doesn't think he's big enough and doesn't want to give him the support. So he called me and he said, "Can I start now? Like today? I want you. Like I trust you." So
Mhm.
that might be one of the like quickest ones. But I like a long sales process because you have to get to know each other, and anyone that's signing up the same day, typically, are you going to do that again now with the next person? But
Sure.
I
Yeah.
think my new people were very loyal to that person, and it wasn't easy for them to make the switch, but they already told me, once we lock in with you, we're never going anywhere. This is a relationship. Just don't leave us. So it's nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. How about you, Brad?
Yeah, so the easiest leads in all of automotive are probably 20 group leads that came in. So I've closed one in 4 hours. I got a lead and closed, did the demo, had the DocuSigns back in less than 4 hours. But one thing that we don't do on the vendor side is, if you have a company and everybody has a 20 group, pretty much everybody. If you have a company that's doing really well, go to the GM or person that goes to that 20 group and say, "Hey, if you use this for your best idea in your 20 group, then I will put together your whole presentation and you don't have to." Because that's a big pain point for most general managers and marketing people, is putting that together. So I do that all the time, and I get invites to NADA, and we have a partnership with NCM, and we actually power all the data for the NCM fixed ops 20 groups. But I do that constantly because, who wouldn't want to be in front of, normally we have 4 to 5 dealers in the 20 group that use us,
Yeah.
and they're always performing pretty well. And so it's an easy way to do that because there's a lot of transparency when it comes to the numbers. And on top of that, they usually tell their friends pretty quickly. And so I get a lot of 20 group referrals that way. The other way that leads that are pretty easy is if you're at a vendor you're at a vendor and you're trying to be a partner, apply to speak at all these conferences, but also have a dealership with you that you can highlight, and then have a white paper at the end of your presentation and just say, "Hey, if you'll email me, I'll send you that white paper." Then you have all the lead capture from everybody that was in your session. And so one beautiful trick is to be resourceful and not use all your resources, right? So what are ways that you can drive people into your funnel without spending a whole ton of money? And so that's what I always feel like, is how do you look like you're everywhere, but you're really I'm really hanging out with my wife or going hunting or stuff like that, but I look like I'm everywhere, right? Because of pre-scheduled posts and different things like
Yeah.
that. But I put a lot of thought into what I put out there, and I always run it through that filter of what's true to myself. So the fastest lead is about 4 hours, but our product's kind of complicated, so it takes a little bit longer. And
Yep.
I want to make sure that everybody's bought in. I'm going to make sure everybody's bought in, and Cindy's the same way. I'm going to make sure everybody's bought in before we ink it, because, like I said, my reputation on the line. I don't want it to fail. I actually fired a client that wouldn't make the meetings. He got his situation that he was going through fixed and came back and re-signed up. And he was like stunned.
He probably respects you because of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was stunned. I was like, "You're wasting money. Why would I sign you
Yeah.
up?" And he's like, "I don't know what to say." And I was like, "You got something going on, bro. You got something going." Like, even the other day, I was on the phone and calling a dealership out in the middle of Texas, and this guy answered the phone, and I could hear he was going through some mess. I don't know if it was a customer issue. I don't know if it was an employee issue. I just heard it in his voice, and I go, "Hey, bro, I'm going to call you. Call me back whenever you get this figured out." And I immediately DoorDashed him, like I said, something to the store, right?
Oh, I love that.
It was around lunchtime, and I could tell he was dealing with some stuff, and he hadn't eaten and stuff like that. So I immediately DoorDashed him like that. And then I got a text message like a couple hours later that says, "You're insane." That's all it said. And then he signed up yesterday. And this was last week.
There you go.
So
That's awesome.
it was just being so immensely curious and emotionally aware to what's going on, right? And saying, "Oh, this is not the time to bring this up." That little bit of empathy and consideration goes so far, so far.
It's awesome. That's some great stuff right there. And that's I wanted to end on how easy sales is. So you just showed it's simple, right? Anybody can do it, and everybody should be doing it. Cindy and Brad, thank you for taking the time to join us here today. Was a really good show. A lot of comments were coming in through the show, so take some time to go back and read through those. Again, thank you for your time. Thank you to everybody who was out there watching. This was an episode of Fixed Ops Mastermind powered by OEM Interactive, selling to dealers. It was brought to you by Automotive Warranty Incorporated. We will see everybody next week.